Shut up and sit down.
What's the story, Internet? What's the story, Internet? Hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. We are back again with the preview for the weekend's fixtures, and I've got to tell you, there's some crackers coming up this weekend. It's a weekend of deciding matches, so without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, starting with the Bundesliga, Dortmund versus Red Bull Leipzig. So Red Bull Leipzig really need to win this to keep the pressure on Bayern Munich. And speaking of Bayern Munich, they will be playing at Borussia Mönchengladbach. However, Dortmund are also in a position where they need to win to keep the pressure on Frankfurt so that they can challenge for Champions League places, and Wolfsburg. So must-win match for those two. Mönchengladbach doesn't really have too much. There's still a possibility of making it into Europe, but it's dependent on other teams. They are currently in 7th. So some deciding matches in Germany. And then moving over to the Liga, we have first place Lille playing Lens, and then we have Paris Saint-Germain playing Rennes. Difficult matches. Lens is in 5th and Rennes is in 7th, and there's still only 1 point separating Lille and PSG. And to go along with it, Monaco is there or thereabouts as well. They're playing Stade Rennes, and Lyon are in 4th and they are playing Lorient. So there's a couple of big matches there. Big ones are obviously the Lille and PSG matches because they're the ones that are top dogs at the moment. Moving over to the Syria, it's all about pride now because Inter Milan have officially won the Scudetto, so everyone else is just sort of clamouring around. Roma have already got rid of their manager and had already announced it before he lost against Manchester United today. So Juventus are playing AC Milan, so a big match just for the sake of being a big match because it's two big teams in Italy that are playing each other. It's 3rd against 4th, they're level on points. With Atalanta. It's just to see who's top dog, really. I think it's going to be a draw because I think both teams are going to sort of go out and try, but I think they're going to leave themselves vulnerable, and I think it's going to be like a 2-2 or a 3-3, something like that. Moving over to La Liga, big matches in La Liga. We have first place Atletico Madrid playing 3rd place Barcelona, and we have 2nd place Real Madrid playing 4th place Sevilla. So all 4 teams at the top are playing each other. So currently, Atletico Madrid are on 76 points, Real Madrid and Barcelona are on 74 apiece, and Sevilla is on 70. So Sevilla are the outsiders. However, if the other teams falter, it's their opportunity to take advantage. So, could be a huge shake-up in La Liga this weekend. And then moving over to the Premier League, Leicester City versus Newcastle. Leicester City want to solidify their place in the top of the table. They are currently 2 points ahead of Chelsea and 5 points. Sorry, maths is not my strong suit. 5 points ahead of West Ham. So they're pretty much there, but they can't afford a falter, and especially after Newcastle have been performing so well. Yes, they did lose to Arsenal. However, previously, before that, they drew with Liverpool. They beat West Ham, they beat Burnley, so they've had a couple of good results, so Leicester can't afford to let that slip, a la Steven Gerrard. Saturday, Leeds United versus Spurs. Leeds had quite a devastating loss last week to Brighton, although Brighton did have a lot to play for. Tottenham will be relishing coming off the back of that victory against Sheffield United, although it is Sheffield United, no disrespect. Gareth Bale getting the hat-trick. They are 2 points ahead of Liverpool, albeit Liverpool have a match in hand, and they are 2 points behind of West Ham. So if they can get a performance against Leeds, they could go up 1 point ahead of West Ham. Leeds don't really have too much to play for. They're not getting relegated. They're not getting into Europe. So it's just a matter of pride for that match. Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace. I'm not going to say too much about this match. Crystal Palace are going to win. Sheffield United, their heart's just not in it. And they have nothing to play for. They've already been relegated. There's not a lot to say there. If Crystal Palace don't win, then fair play to Sheffield United, but I can see this being a Crystal Palace routing, probably maybe like a 2 or 3-1 maybe. We'll give Sheffield United credit. Now, big match for the weekend, Manchester City versus Chelsea. So it's a preview of the upcoming Champions League final. So we will see what look into the future for what will happen there. So City are in first on 80 points, Chelsea are in fourth on 61. If City win, they win the Premier League title. If Chelsea win, and it's a bit of a shock, then that means that they will go ahead of Leicester. They will clear West Ham, obviously depending on their matches, and it will sort of solidify their place in Europe. So, big match for those two. The City result, if they do lose, is dependent on Manchester United against Aston Villa, whether or not they will still win the title or not. So moving on to the next match, we've got Liverpool versus Southampton, or Liverpool A versus Liverpool B, since Southampton keep just filtering players over to Liverpool. Liverpool, they're still in the hunt for European places, but they are 4 points behind West Ham, and they are 7 points behind Chelsea. So if they did make it, it's probably going to be in the Europa League. Do have a game in hand though, so we'll see. That could make things very interesting. Although that game in hand is against Manchester United. So Southampton have had a little bit of a run of form recently. After drawing with Leicester, they did lose to Spurs and lose to Leicester in the FA Cup semi-final. But they beat Burnley, they beat Southampton in the quarterfinals, they beat Bournemouth in the quarterfinals. So there's been a couple of results, but not as clear-cut as they were earlier in the season. I still think that Southampton are going to give Liverpool a run for the money, and I think it's going to be a draw just because Liverpool keep giving away these silly draws. So I think that's what's going to happen. Wolves versus Brighton, not a lot to say about this one. Both teams are safe. They're not in danger of relegation, not in danger of coming close to Europe. So just a way of flexing their muscles and building momentum for next season, really. I think it's going to be a draw, maybe 1-1, 2-1, something like that. Aston Villa versus Manchester United, a very important match for the top of the table. Although, if Manchester City win, it might be decided before this match even kicks off. But it's still important for Manchester United to build on their lead against Leicester and to make sure that they stay in second. So Aston Villa, just like other teams I've mentioned, don't really have that much to play for. They're 10 points off of the European spots. So not impossible, but they're relying on a lot of things to go wrong for these other teams for them to make it into Europe. So next match, West Ham versus Everton. Very important match for West Ham. And a very important match for Everton as well, because if Everton win, they go within 3 points of West Ham and have the opportunity to make it into Europe. They would overtake Liverpool, depending on Liverpool's result, and they would be 1 point behind Spurs. So, but West Ham have been performing admirably recently, and they'll want to solidify their place in the Europa League, if not put pressure on Chelsea, depending on their result, and get them into the Champions League. So, next match is Arsenal versus West Brom. Not a lot to play for. Arsenal are out of the Europa League. They can't get into Europe next season. West Brom, yes, mathematically they still have a lot to play for, but they're 10 points behind Newcastle and Burnley. Can't see it happening for them, unfortunately. You never know. Big Sam could pull out a shock. He has been known to do these sorts of things from relegation-threatened places. So I think it might be a 2-2. I think West Brom will take a shock lead. Arsenal will fight for the lead back. And then West Brom will score in the 87th, 88th minute. So much to the frustration of Arsenal Fan TV. And then moving on to Monday, we have Fulham versus Burnley. I think Burnley are kind of safe at the moment. They are, as I mentioned earlier, they're 10 points clear of West Brom. They're 9 points clear of Fulham. It would take an absolute collapse for that to happen. But Fulham have a lot to play for, a lot to prove, just to give themselves that momentum to carry themselves forward. So we shall see what happens from there. but I think it's probably going to be a ball draw, maybe a 1-1, maybe a Fulham win 1-0, and then it'll make things interesting down there. So I'm going to do a quick run through of some of the matches next midweek as well, because it is my birthday this weekend, so I am not going to be making a review video on Monday. I will be doing it on Tuesday. However, by that point I will have missed some of the matches. So Tuesday we've got Southampton versus Crystal Palace. Already been through these two teams. They don't have much to play for, just pride. I think Crystal Palace are going to win 2-1. And then we have Manchester United versus Leicester City, a dreadfully important match in the terms of the top four. However, by the time it gets to this point, both teams might have already been decided. City might have won, Chelsea might have fallen behind Leicester, and both sides might be in a good place. So only time will tell, but I think it's going to be a good match. I think it'll be two evenly matched teams and it'll be very entertaining. So that's Tuesday. Let's go through the channels for you for the upcoming matches. So Friday's Leicester City versus Newcastle United is on NBCSN and Universo. Moving on to Saturday, as I said, my birthday. Leeds versus Spurs is on NBCSN and Universo. So is Sheffield versus Crystal Palace. City versus Chelsea is on NBC proper and Universo. Liverpool versus Liverpool B, aka Southampton, is on Peacock. Wolves versus Brighton is on Peacock. So is Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Then West Ham versus Everton is on NBCSN. Arsenal versus West Brom is on NBC proper. Moving on to Monday, Fulham versus Burnley is on NBCSN. Moving on to the Tuesday matches I went over earlier, Manchester United versus Leicester City is on NBCSN, and Southampton versus Crystal Palace is also on NBCSN. So, as I said, I will be back with you on Tuesday. I will review all of the weekend's football, and I will also review the Tuesday matches and go into a little bit of detail. No point in making a separate video on the midweek matches because there's only a couple of them there. So go into detail of all the results from around the grounds. And until then, I hope you're all staying safe, keeping out of trouble. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until next week, I hope you all have a good weekend. I'll catch you all on Tuesday. Ta-ra for now.